Hello and welcome back to Code with Playtesting. So today we're going to look at creating the Pop the Fish game. So I have the scene open in Unity, and I have dragged in the sprites for the game. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I just zoom out here. So let's just look at all the fish. So basically I went into art. I looked at what I wanted. So I said, okay, I want this fish. And I dragged it into the scene. And I changed the order in layer to 1. And the only reason I did that is because the seaweed background and everything else that I put in before, so it should be 2. It should be at least 2. These are all, the order in layer is 1, which basically means if I want to see the fish, it has to be above the ground. So above the layer, the background layers. So for example, if I moved this fish that I put just now here, but then I put it onto layer 0 or even layer 1, you'll see part of the fish, but not all of it because they're both on the same layer. So it's always good to, whatever you want to see, you put on the top layer. So let's do that. So let's just remove that for now. So everything you see in this section, the hierarchy, is in the scene. So just save that. So now what we want to do in order to, interact with these sprites. Right now they don't do anything. We're going to need what's called a collision. So in Unity, they have a collision called a collision 2D. And we're going to go with, let's go with Box Collider. We're going to go Box Collider 2D. Okay, so that's going to draw, I don't know if you can see that, it's drawn it's on fish red, there's drawn a green little box around it. And we can see it here too. And we're going to do the same to all of these. We're going to shift select, add Box Collider 2D. Okay, so now all of them I can click on. Okay, now obviously it doesn't know that's what we want to do, so that's the next thing we want to do. Let's just go to the pink one, and we can always adjust the size of the collision. So we can make the collision smaller, but remember we're making it for kids, so we might leave it as big as we want. It could also be a circle collider, it doesn't really matter which one, but that's that. Okay, the next thing we need is a rigid body. Now the rigid body will help in also detecting the collisions, but if I press play now, we just put rigid body 2D. I'm just going to put it on all of, or actually we're just going to use the fish red as the example for now. I've added the rigid body and I press play. What's going to happen is the fish is going to be affected by gravity and it's going to slowly drop. Now the only reason why it hasn't dropped all the way is because there's a box collider on the orange fish too. So if there wasn't a box collider on the orange fish, let's just take that off for now. And you press play. The red fish will go literally off the screen and it will be gone. So that's a fallen object. We don't want that to happen. So what we will do, we will change the gravity scale to 0. So it's still going to be able to detect collisions, but it's not going to move. So that's, so it's not moving now, but we will be able to detect collisions. So let's just put that on each of them. rigid body 2D, and make sure that the gravity scale is 0. Okay, so we've got those two things done. Next, what we need to do is, I've got this, we did that from the last round, pop the PopManager script. And what we want to do now, okay, so that's what we did last time. We want to have a way to detect how many fish are on the screen. So we're going to create a script, mono behavior, and we're going to call it fish item. Okay. Now the fish item is going to go on each of these fish. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one it is. So we're going to, it's an empty script. We haven't done anything to it. We just want to add a script. So it's fish item. Okay. So now each of these fish have a fish item on it, a script attached. Okay. So now we can go to the pop the PopManager, and we can add what's called a variable. So we want to add a variable called, we want an amount, so it'll be an int, and we'll say fish count. Okay, and we basically want to know, okay, so the variable is fish count, and now we want to, instead of actually adding a number here, we want it to dynamically find all the fish with that script on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to say fish count equals find objects of type by type fish item, and then we're going to find objects sort mode.none.length. Okay, so basically what that's going to do is going to look at all of the items that have the fish item script attached to it, and then it's not going to sort it or anything. It's just going to find all of them, and it's going to return that to us. Now we've named our int public, so we can just say here, we add a comment with the 2/ saying find all the fish in the scene. So that's the amount. Okay, so if we take a look now at our at Unity and we press play, so we should see the fish count change. Oops, sorry. It should be nothing right now. And if I press play, you should see it change to the amount on the screen. There we go. So we got 5. We have 5 fish, and we have 5. So for example, if I was to duplicate this one and move it somewhere else and press play, and we look at the amount in Pop the PopManager, it will say 6. So it will dynamically find any item that has the fish item script loaded onto it. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that. Excellent. So now that we have the fish in the scene and we can dynamically count how many are actually in there, we want to now find how to click on the fish and for it to return something. So the fish item, we're going to open up in mono behavior, and we're going to say, we're going to create what's called a function. Now a function is what these are, start and update, and it's a segment of code that obviously is going to be called at a specific time. So we're just going to call it popped. Okay, so the public, we're going to name it public void because it's not going to return anything, and we just want to say pop. Okay, and it's going to say what we're going to do, we're going to write a message to the console. And we just say debug.log. So it's just giving us a little message saying fish popped. Okay. So this is the fish item, and we've got a pop. Excellent. So what we're going to do in the start function, we're going to call the method pop or popped. No, actually pop is good. Let's just say pop. Okay, so now we go into our manager here, our Unity editor, and we're going to need to see the console. So in Window General, you should be able to see console. Okay. Oh, it's already here. So sometimes it's mapped at the bottom here. So when I press play, knowing how many fish we have on the scene, and it's on every single fish, we should get at least 5 messages back. Okay, so we press play, and let's look at the console. And how many do we get back? 5. Okay, so we get 5 pop. So we know that works. So there's a function that says pop. Now, in reality, what we want to do is actually either remove it from the screen or just disable it. So if we go back into our popped, we can comment this out, and we can say the game object, which is what it is, game object dot set active false. Okay, so that means we are actually removing it from being in an active state to being in an inactive state. Okay, so now what should happen if we press play, and this is at the start of running the game, what would happen is all the fish should disappear from the screen. All right. Okay. So now we're going to remove that from the start function. So now this is what we want to happen when we click the game object. But what we also want to happen is when we click, we remove a game object, we want to update the fact that there's not that many on the screen. Okay. So remember, this script is on the fish, but this script is on the manager. So say, how do we interact with the two? So one way of doing that and is to reference the pop the fish manager script in the fish item script. So we're going to say manager, pop the fish manager, and we're going to say public. This is not best practice, but this is what we want to do. We're going to say what do you want the manager to do? So in the pop the fish manager, we want to have we have to make a function, and we're going to say public void fish popped, and we're going to say fish count minus equals 1. So whatever the fish count was before, now minus 1. So now we go back to fish item and we say set active. Before we set the active false, we're going to say manager, which is the pop the fish manager, dot fish popped. Okay, and then it will set the active. Okay, so now if we go back to our fish item and we go back to all the fish in the scene here, and we go down to where the pop the fish manager is, we can just select it. Okay, So we've made all the elements of actually, getting rid of the things on the screen, but we still haven't done the collision detection yet. So that's what we'll do now. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to create a C# script for the camera. We're going to call it player, because the player is going to be the camera. It's going to be on the camera. And I'm just going to take that and put player, add that to the camera. I'm just going. So this is the player. Sorry, it should be player. And what this is, it's taking the camera. So we're getting the component, and then we're going to create a onPop function, which is going to take the input action that we created earlier, and it's going to check if I would click the mouse, where is it clicked? Did it hit something? If it hit something, did it hit the fish item? If it hit the fish item, pop the fish. That's the idea. Okay. So now in on the camera, we have the player, and what we're going to do, I'm just going to remove this so I do it from scratch. We're going to create a player input. We're going to choose the one that we have by default. We're going to choose the player map, and we're going to change this to invoke Unity events. Now this one, sorry, we have to do that again. Will be a drop down for Unity events, and we've got the pop, so that's the one we want. So we will drag this player script into there, and we want the function called onPop. Okay, so that's all of that. So everything that we've done so far should work up until now. So remember, the fish count at the moment is 0. When we press play, it should go up to 5, which is what it is. Okay, now when we click on a fish, it goes down to 4, another one, 3, another one, 2, 1 left, 0. Now the only thing we want now is, once all of that is done, we actually want to show a screen to say, well done, you popped all the fish, and give the option to either restart or go back to the main menu. So the best way to do that is to create a panel. So on the canvas, we're going to right click, and we're going to create a UI panel, and this is going to be game over panel. Okay, we're going to duplicate this button, and we're going to put it inside this panel too. I'm going to take this panel, and it's stretched right now over the screen, so we could actually change the alpha so that it's completely, or leave it as it was, make it black, change the alpha fully to show that it's over, etc. Now the button shows at the top because it's at the top, whereas if the button was underneath, underneath, so we would have to move the game over panel to the top here, and this button, okay. Anyway, so we changed this button to being in the middle, and this one is called menu button. Okay, we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to say restart button. Okay, so we want people to restart, so we will move the menu button a little bit to the left. So let's get my mouse. move the menu button. Oops. There, and the other button. Oops. So we just changed the text on the restart button to restart. Okay, we're just gonna make this a little bit smaller so we can got more real estate. You know what? There we are. Okay. We also want to add some text, so we say create UI text match pro, and we say congratulations, you popped all of the fish. Okay, we can move it where we want it. Change the font size, make it bold. I'll show you how we can change the text itself as well, the font itself. And here we go. Alright. Now we can make that. You move it around as you wish. I hold Alt to be to the top or to the middle or to the bottom. We'll put it at the top. We'll put the max size at 200 and we'll just drag this out. Alright, maybe change that back down to 150. So now inside the Pop the Fish Manager, we want to get the game object, the game over panel. We want to create that. And by default, we want it to be false. So it doesn't show on the screen at the beginning. But we want to check the fish count every frame to see if it's less than 0. So we'll say if the fish count is less than or equal to 0, then show the game over panel. So that's what's going to be run every frame. See, it's called once per frame. So let's connect this all together and see what we have. So here's the game over panel. We want to drag that in here. I have it toggled off by default, just for me to be able to see my scene, how it will be presented. But you could technically leave it on because in the Pop the Fish Manager, we turn it off by default. But for me, I like to, if it's not active in the scene, I want it to be like that. So now we will press play and let's see what we have so far. So let me just make this a bit bigger. So here's the fish, and we pop 2, 3, 4, 5. Congratulations, you've popped all the fish. Restart or main menu. So we'll say restart. And here we go again. Excellent. And we say menu. Great. So we play pop the fish. Back we go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We popped all the fish. Restart. Okay. Now, obviously, it's a little bland, but that's basically the functionality works. So we can pop the fish. We can show a menu screen. So that's all good. Well done. So we're going to add maybe something extra, just to kind of give everything a little bit of a vibe. Right now everything is very static. So we're going to add things like some sound and a particle effect that will kind of show the fish popping. So first of all, let's do a simple animation for the fish. So if we take one fish, actually we don't even need it. Yeah, wait, let's just take one fish, and we will add an animation, and we're just going to say pulse, and we're going to save it under assets, and we're going to have a new folder called animations, and we're going to say fish pulse. And all it's going to do, I'm going to click record, and I'm going to look at the transform, and this is 2.15, and 30, I'm going to change it to 5. Okay, so if we press play, it's going to be like so. Okay, excellent. So that's pulsing, and it's going to be looping like that. We could even add maybe a little bit of a rotation, so we could rotate it 25, 20. So rotate 0. We'll say 20 on the X, on the Z, sorry, and again 20, 0 on the Z. Okay, so it will just go like so. We could actually turn that to maybe 10 or negative 10. So that gives the fish a little bit of life. And what we want to do, probably add that to all the fish. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So we're going to add that to all the fish. Select all the fish and say animator. And we're just going to click the fish red because that's going to be exactly the same. And here we go. When we press play, they should all animate. Now obviously they're all animate in the same way, etc. But this is just the beginnings of making things a little bit more interesting. So now that we have that, we're going to add a particle effect. Now it's very easy to do this in Unity. So we go to Game Object Effects and we say Particle System. Very easy. The first thing we want to do is just reset, and we want to have a let's say a 1 second duration for now, and we're going to keep it looping for a minute. And what we're going to do is, first off, we're going to go down to Texture Sheet Animation, and we're going to say Sprite, and we're going to get the bubble, there it was, I think it was called bubble, yeah, we're going to get this little pop sprite, which is great. Then we're going to go down to renderer, and we're going to make sure that's sprite lit, that's fine. And we're going to say size over lifetime, and we want it to start big and go small. Okay, and if we just press restart, sorry, let's just see it in the Okay, so at the moment it's being rendered, like we said before, in the background. So we change the renderer mode, the sorting mode, to, sorry, sort mode, distance, and we're going to change the sorting layer. This is it. We're going to leave the sort mode button, sorting layer to like 4. Okay, so right now it's just looping this little animation. It's a bit too long, so we can change the lifetime to 1, and that looks a little bit more like being popped. And the speed we can do between 2 constants, so that way we get a little bit of a randomness. So we're going to say between 2, and we also need a public audio source, and I'm going to call it a source, and all we're going to say is a source dot play one shot pop sound. Okay, so now on my fish container I've put the audio source. You could put it anywhere. You could put it on, actually it's probably better on the Pop the Fish Manager audio source. Okay, we remove it from here, and we can select all of these, and actually we can do something even better. Because we're already referencing the Pop the Fish Manager in our script, the audio source, we can say in the start function, we can say the audio source is manager dot get component audio source. Okay, so it will take the audio source from the manager that we already have. That way we're not referencing it many times. Okay, so lastly what we need to do is source a clip. So I like to use BXFR, I think it's called. Yeah, and we could just say something like pick up or power up or select. I'm actually going to change this to something like that, and we say export WAV. I'm just going to put it in my desktop for now, and then you can just import it where you want it. So I'm going to say, I'm going to go into my sounds, and I'm going to say assets, import new asset, go to my desktop, find my WAV file, import it. Okay, select all of the fish and change the audio clip to this pickup. Okay, now before we start, the audio source, I want the play on awake to be off and the volume to be small, so like 0.4. It's not super high. So we press play. And hopefully excellent, very good. Now if we want this to be a learning game, we could have one more extra feature, and we can add a text that shows the amount of fish on the screen. So let's put 0 for now. Sorry, fish amount text. So we say 0, And obviously we want this to be as big as we want. Let's say 300, and we want it to be in the middle of the screen. Yeah, or maybe middle at the top. And let's just actually go to the canvas. Alright, so we can make it super big, and we can just do the basics here. Now, how do we connect this to the PopManager? All we have to do is reference it. So we open PopManager and we say at the top, we want to make sure we're using TM Pro, which is the Text Match Pro, which is what we have. So we're going to say public text mesh preview GUI. We're going to say fish amount text. And all we want to do at the beginning, so in start, after we get the fish count, we're going to say fish text amount dot text equals fish count. Now it needs to be a string, so we need to say it's a string. Okay. So you'll also want to copy this. Every time it's updated, we want to say we want to change the amount. Okay. So now we want to make sure we drag in the text that we created into its little slot. So on the PopManager, you see there's an empty slot. So we drag that in, press save, and we say play. So hopefully now we should see the amount change. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so now the 0 is a little bit too high. So what we're going to do, put it behind the control panel, the game over panel. So hopefully now we've got a bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Congratulations, you popped all the fish. Now, as you can see, the color is not great for the game over. So we're just going to change the button for highlighted color to be maybe just a lighter blue or like a teal blue. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Alright, so we click menu, we go back to menu, click pop the fish, and here we are. Alright, awesome. So you've successfully made a pop the fish game. So we're going to be building on this for our next game, where we will be using similar principles to detect what we've actually clicked. So more like a puzzle style game. So that'll be what we do next. Congratulations, you have created your first game in Unity.